Hello, Globebusters. Yes, of course they're serious. You do? You have? No kidding. Uh-huh. Oh, they'll cure your globitis this week. Thank you. We got one!
Ladies and gentlemen,
it's the Globebusters.
What are you supposed to be, some kind of a cosmonaut?
No, we're exterminators.
And now, here's your host.
And welcome everybody to Globebusters. Satellites are balloons. I am your host, Bob Xanadude60, and we are back for I guess this is a Thursday show, which should have been a Wednesday show, but, snafu scheduling, whatnot. But we're back. We're here. Going to have a great show for you today, and just going to kind of go over some stuff that I think is, I get tired of hearing about the globe model and how supposedly the globe model has all the answers and they've got all the model and we don't have any model and we have nothing. And, the funny part about it is that it is the globe model that has nothing. The globers will tell you, oh yeah, well, we've got the globe. Look at that. That's our perfectly functional globe. And it's like, really? So if I look at a globe or I look at any representation of it, i.e. Google Earth Pro, anything like that, do I see anything that shows me curvature rate, z-axis drop, anything like that? Nope, I sure don't. In fact, all references to flat to zero elevation are at sea level, which, should be dramatically different all over the world, but it's not. And so you have to ask yourself, well, why? That's pretty strange. Then the biggest thing I think you have to really think about with the ball Earth model and the globe is the stupidity of the continent sizes. Now, they sit there and they tell us how they have all these problems getting the right continent sizes projected and how that's such a problem because we have to go back and forth between flat projections to ball projections. And it's like, I have a solution for that. I think what they should do is just go out into outer space, take a picture of the ball, and then model a globe with all the continents on it, right down to a gnat's ass, right onto a globe. I think that would work. I mean, call me stupid, call me crazy, but you would think that NASA being out in outer space for, 60 years or better, that they would have thought of doing this. And then they wouldn't have to have that stupid little decorative sticker on the bottom of all globes that says for decorative purposes only or not for official use or whatever. In other words, it says don't use this. It's not accurate, right? So, I mean, it's ridiculous. And the thing that's so funny is that the globers, even the NASA footage that they take from space, allegedly, right? That's supposedly the globe from the Himawari. Why are we using still the wrong projection of the continent sizes, right? Why are we using the Mercator projection instead of the Gauss-Peter, right? Which at least would be a little closer. But really, when you think about it, why would there be any distortion at all if all they have to do is just take a picture of a ball and overlay it onto a ball? And even if there's a little bit of oblateness, that oblateness, so another, 22 miles at the equator, 22 kilometers, or whatever it is, they could put that right into the ball. I'm sure that wouldn't be too much of a technical problem. But no, they can't do that. That's just too much of a problem. And then, of course, the ball earthers will sit there and say, oh, you flatties, you don't even have a map or anything. It's like, I got news for you, ballers. all maps are flat Earth maps. All of them, every single one of them are all flat projection. And when you get down to it and actually break it down, none of them show any curvature. None of them show any z-axis curvature. You know why? Because there isn't any. It's unbelievable that people actually buy into that horse crap. And after 60 years, none of you can come up with a reasonable answer as to why that would be the case. You can't, you won't, and you never will, because the only answer is that NASA is lying to us. All the world space agencies are lying to us. There is no outer space, and Earth is not a ball. Therefore, that's why they have so many problems projecting it as a ball, because it isn't one. It's as simple as that. And we're also going to show today, on this little journey of satellites, about how the way that the satellites do work absolutely require the AE type of projection, which, I have said from day one that I still think, and I still think this to this day, guys, that the AE projection is still our best bet, hands down, for the closest representation of what we've got. Why do I say that? Yeah. Oh, hey, John.
I was just going to say, hello, I'm back, and hopefully you can hear me okay. And I think a really interesting point that was raised in zetetic astronomy back in the 1800s was that historically, most of the astronomical mapping and most of the geological mapping was done in the quote-unquote northern hemisphere, or the central area of the AE projection. And it makes a lot of sense, and it actually works out kind of nicely on both the globe as well as the flat Earth. It's when you get into the southern hemisphere where really all bets are off when it comes to the ball. And I think that's why it was so important for the Europeans to essentially eradicate the South American sort of history and the astronomy that they were very, very savvy with. Didn't mean to interrupt, but I must say that I agree. And sound check.
Yeah, no problem. And we got a sound check. I haven't introduced anybody yet, so just you already said hi, so let's go ahead and we'll put Zack up there too. We also have with us today Zack from the Good Times for All channel. So Zachary's a baller if you prefer. How you doing today, Zack?
Hey, Bob. Hey, John. Hello, everybody out there. Yeah, doing great. It was a beautiful day. Got some running around. I'm getting my energy back. I'm finally getting to that point where it's like, okay, I need to start doing something again.
Yeah,
so
I hear you.
Things are good.
I'm getting my energy back too. Thank God. Not having it. I mean, talk about being sick and tired of being sick and tired. But I feel a lot better. It's even funny because, the few weeks that leading up to me really feeling crappy, I could hear it in my voice. It's like I sounded tired. I was like, God, I sound terrible. That's awful. But anyway, it's all good now. And, it's a beautiful day in South Carolina today. And everything's really good. So what do you think, Zack? Don't you think that the entire solution to the problem of the globe and the continent sizes and all this projection issue that they have, why don't they just go out and take a picture of the ball, right, from space, and then overlay the continents exactly where they are at the proper size and the proper perspective? Don't you think that would be easy?
Well, yeah, you think we went to the moon, over 50 years ago? You figure this would be a piece of cake. With today's technology and everything, there should be something on the moon showing the Earth 24/7.
That's right.
Sponsors and advertisements all up around the Coke and Pepsi alone would pay for it.
Exactly.
It's like going from a globe to a flat map would be a bit of a challenge. Going from a globe to a smaller globe should be super easy, but going from a flat Earth to a hypothetical globe back to a flat map like we have with the Mercator projection, that's, I think that's where we get all the problems from, obviously. And they tried to fix it with like the Peters projection, but I get why they did it. They claim it was to keep the lines of constant course for navigational purposes, but I think it's arguable when they actually started believing that the Earth was a ball to begin with. I mean, I know that they say it was 2,000 years ago. Some people say it was with Copernicus, others with Columbus, but I don't know, man. I think it's really very much up in the air.
Yeah, it's funny because Kyle, Flat Earth, Kyle Adams is his name. He does like the Flat Earth University. he came across some really interesting information that basically shows that even at the time that Columbus went, they knew full well, at that point in time, that it was never even in question that the Earth was flat, right? So, and I don't know if you guys have seen his latest video. If you haven't, you might want to go over and check it out. Some pretty interesting find. But yeah, he came across some old books that were written a long time ago that, kind of tell a little bit different side of the story. And, and of course, they keep trying to move it back too. Columbus was only 500 years ago. They're trying to tell us, oh no, it's 2,500 plus years ago. What a bunch of BS.
Well, look at the discrepancy between Columbus, and I made a video really punctuating this point a couple weeks ago, but the discrepancy between Columbus's circumference of the Earth versus Eratosthenes' circumference of the Earth, and there is literally 100% difference. So, like Columbus thought it was 6,000 miles from the west edge of Europe to the east coast of India, when really that's 12,000 miles. So he was literally 100% wrong. Like, double. It was double what he thought. So that does go to show, I think, that they didn't know or think that it was a ball, and they damn sure didn't really fully understand what it is that they live on, flat or a ball. When the globe earthers would have us believe that they knew it was a ball and they knew exactly what they were doing, and yet we still go and call Native Americans Indians to this day.
Exactly. And the amazing thing about it is, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Zach.
I was just going to say, the way I see it, I don't even know if Christopher Columbus even existed.
Yeah, you got to wonder, don't you?
Anybody knows what happened 500 years ago, let alone,
That's true.
250 years ago. Yeah, so I think it's all stories that people sat around and made up, like the guys in NASA right now making up the future. I think people sat around and made up the past and then just kind of put it in the early 19th century, late 19th century, early 20th century.
To evidence that sort of a theory, what you would expect to find is discrepancies in the historical narrative, as well as the architectural prowess of these civilizations, that some of them didn't even have a wheel, according to these guys. And what do we find but exactly just that, discrepancies and problems with the narrative. And so I'm with you on that. But, humoring the standard historical narrative, we'll just say Christopher Columbus was a real guy, and he loved to eat turkey burgers with Indians.
Yeah. And then you've got, of course, what's interesting, we've got Al-Biruni, right? Which drew essentially the same map, exactly the same map as the Gleasons, right? And the ballers come back and tell us and say, oh, well, the Gleasons it's a projection of a ball, right? And it's like, no, it really isn't. And this is why I say, I really do believe that the Gleasons, they may call it a projection of a ball, but of course we know that's not true because it's not a ball. And not only that, when you look at the AE projections, they work. They work for shipping. They work for navigation. They work for literally all kinds of corporate activity. They work, period. And you don't see anybody going anywhere with a globe, nor do you ever see a map that would have characteristics on it that would be found on a globe, like Z-axis drop, where you would, want to calculate, arcs and, stuff to other destinations. It's just not there. All maps are flat, period. Even our virtual maps, even the WGS map is essentially a flat map. It is a projection, which we can't even see the entire projection. That's the amazing thing about it. Why is it secret? Why would it be so secret? All you can do is use it as a database reference.
What's so interesting, too, is it appears that the oldest globes are 1493, right? So right at the time of Columbus. And I mean, what just a logical fallacy to assume that circumnavigation is exclusive to a globe. And yet that's what they convinced everybody of when we were toddlers. But as long as you have that sort of magnetic center, that goes either way. And for them to push it as if circumnavigation is exclusive to a globe, it's just exactly what they do. I mean, with everything. And I think that the more we call them out on this, the more the ball just crumbles. I mean, it's just so obvious for once you've looked into it so many times. But I mean, what a bunch of crap for them to call themselves scientists and scientific and yet claim exclusivity for these sorts of things is just absurd.
Yeah, it really is. And not only that, you've got Captain Cook, which, we've had two basically mainstream, two of the highest rated, captains in history, that have circumnavigated the world and have, we're over 60,000 miles. Now, that's a long ways from 24901, right? And that 24901 is supposed to be around the equator. But obviously on a flat map, if they're going around, and they never did find any inlet into the Antarctic ice.
Well,
And
they never made it fully around in the South, as far as I know. I mean, that's
no,
what was penned in Zetetic astronomy. They never were able to completely circumnavigate, and I think they went as far as like close to 70,000 miles.
yes, it was. It was very close to 70,000 miles. And that was verified by Captain Cook and I forget the other captain. Anyway, both very famous captains. And it's just like, it's unbelievable. So, the Globers don't even listen to their own narrative, really, because it goes against the narrative that NASA's talking to them and telling us the way it is today. That is the level of cognitive dissonance. It's absolutely unbelievable. And like I said, anybody that has looked into this for any time at all and cannot see these obvious things that we have named off just in the past 10 minutes here, you are either shilling or you are really stupid. One of the two. I don't know.
What about the potential shortcuts? I mean, you would expect to see shortcuts from far southern destinations, or departure points to destinations that are both in the South, and yet I think 99.9% of the time they take the northernmost or inwardmost route, right? So they avoid the South, the extreme South, especially like the plague, because if you're humoring an AE projection, that's because it would be the longest way around, right? I mean, you want to, the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, and that it works out perfectly on a flat Earth AE projection. And it makes no sense on a globe why they wouldn't have shortcuts in terms of flights and even shipping navigation in the far South. Yet they do. They avoid it like the plague. And I'm with Tammy on this one. I believe that they are hiding probably a very large continental mass in the far South that is yet to be discovered by modern science or whatever.
Yeah, well, it's possible, I suppose. I'm not quite there yet because there's not, for me, I haven't seen enough evidence, other than there would be enough room for it, no doubt. But I don't know whether that's it, if there's just a whole lot more ocean down there, because there's a lot more circumference than they're telling us, because they've got to cut us off at that, that 24901, their figures. And, not go any further than the Antarctic continent. So I don't know. It's hard to say, but one thing I do know is the ball Earth is impossible in every way, shape, and form. And, map makers have been around for centuries, and there's absolutely no reason since the 50s, since we've been allegedly sending up satellites since the 50s, to be able to map this entire ball in complete 100% accuracy, and to get it right on a globe instead, and not have to put, well, this is for entertainment purposes only. I mean, you got to be kidding me.
Not for educational purposes.
Yeah, not for educational purposes. That is pathetic.
And what I mean, really, a lot of it is a hunch, a gut feeling, and maybe it is wishful thinking to a great degree. But just look at the amount of money that even private citizens allegedly are spending on a couple of days in orbit, as they claim recently with the name is on the tip of my tongue. But they just landed the 4 civilians, entirely civilian crew. I mean, that cost out of pocket. That guy spent, I think it was $300 million. And could you imagine if people were spending that kind of money on actually exploring the unknown areas of the oceans, or maybe south of the Antarctic?
Yeah.
I don't think they want us looking in the ocean, to be honest. I think that's one of the reasons they made space up, because I think there's things down there that, I don't know. Something tells me that there's something in the ocean that...
Well, it could be because of that, Zach, that there's something in the ocean, or it could be, like I've been of the belief that the whole reason the Bermuda Triangle and the Japanese area that's, on the other side of the world, that's kind of like akin to the Bermuda Triangle, where planes and boats and stuff like that mysteriously disappear. I don't know if that is just propaganda to keep people away from there, And also that, if somebody sees a spacecraft get dumped out there, right? Well, then somebody could go in and just sink it, sink the boat or whatever, and it would just be chalked up as another mystery, disappearance type of thing. So I'm not sure which one it is, but yeah, for whatever reason, they definitely don't want us looking in those areas of the ocean.
Yeah, and I was thinking about like John was saying, the Southern Pacific out there. They could have a continent out there, a large one, and just anybody who comes close to it, they could sink them. It's in a place where people aren't supposed to go.
Yeah.
Right. And we really would be none the wiser. I mean,
No.
and I think one of the biggest pieces of evidence that I've seen insofar, Cami had done a much better job explaining it, but it had to do with the sort of magnetic field. And it makes a lot of sense in terms of that sort of mapping, that there, I wouldn't say should be something there, but there absolutely could be something there, and it would fall in line with the geomagnetic
the actual pillar type. Yeah, you're right. And, it took her a while to get that across to me. But when I saw Zack and Cami actually map that on a ferrocell, bring the magnets together and create that pattern, I'm like, holy Toledo. There it is. I mean,
Yeah, that was wild.
That was insane.
Crazy. And what was interesting about that? I couldn't get it to look that shape until I wrapped it in copper. Just like Joachim and Boaz, how they say that they're, made of these different elements and stuff.
Yeah.
So it was a magnet, and then it was multiple magnets really stacked on top of each other, but then it had to be wrapped in that copper coil. And that's what gave it those, instead of just having the one line that looked kind of like a clover, it had the multiple lines that you see.
Yeah.
Yeah, that blew my mind. That's when I knew Cami was really onto something. Like, wow, we're actually recreating the magnetic field of Earth.
Yeah. And even Cami's map is not all that different from the Gleason's. I mean, there's definitely some continent, repositioning, but not major. It's not huge. She came up with this a long time ago, but again, like I said, I still believe to this day that the Gleason's is the closest, and we're going to, I'm going to show why, during this little investigation that we go through today. So, and the way
I think a lot of it may.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say real quick, I think a lot of it will probably end up pointing to magnetic declination and how they use that to manipulate where people are going and where people would even think to look for such a thing.
That's part of it. No doubt about that. Yeah. And Zack, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you actually go back and look at the maps that were used, like in the 1930s, 1940s, when they started flying planes, you can go look up the official, aeronautical map of the Earth for flight travel, and it is pretty much the Gleason's map exactly.
Yep.
It is the same exact thing. It's got, everything's colored different, and it doesn't look natural or anything like that, but yeah, it's the same exact map.
Yep.
So yeah, I think you're right, Bob. It's real close, if not, what it is.
Yeah, I totally agree.
It's definitely closer than any globe I've seen.
I'm sure. And it's right on the money with Al Bruni's too. I mean, they're identical. They truly are. They're identical with Al Bruni and the UN map and the Gleason's AE. There's not a damn bit of difference as far as I can tell. Is there?
No, and I think that they say it's distorted because Australia, with the lines of longitude, latitude, the way it works, on the globe, they make Australia look smaller. But Australia is really what it looks like on the Gleason's map.
Yeah.
It's actually that big.
Yeah, there's something that's still a little bit off about Australia. I totally agree with that. Obviously, I don't think it's as elongated as the Gleason shows it, but who knows? Maybe it is. And this could be, part of the deception could be coming from part of this, magnetic declination that John was talking about. Because when you get down into the southern continent, the declinations are ridiculous. I mean,
oh yeah, it's over 90 degrees in some places.
It's close to 180 in some places. I mean, it's like you might as well just
pass backwards.
Yeah. I mean, there are literally places allegedly on Antarctica that the declination is 174 degrees. It's like, just turn around, you know? It's like,
Yeah,
why
that's
even
why
bother?
they think the sun is south of them because they're following the magnet.
Right. It could be. It could be. I think Antarctica is so important and key to this. And just one more thing that really struck a chord with me is, if we're on a ball, you would expect to see sort of a bilateral symmetry between the North Pole and the South Pole. And I'm talking about in terms of just the climate, right? I mean, they should be opposite sides of the same coin. They should be virtually identical. Of course, one has summer during the other's winter and vice versa. And yet we see just a completely different environment and climate in the South that you can't just breeze past that. And that's something that was just huge for me, because growing up, I always sort of assumed, without looking into it, that the Antarctic and the Arctic were very similar in these terms. But when it comes to wildlife, when it comes to even the waves, the salinity, the temperatures by average and by record are far colder in the South. I mean, we're talking about completely different places, and yet on a ball Earth, they should be practically identical in those terms.
Yeah, especially when they're trying to make the excuse that it's the sun angle that's making that fabulous, incredible temperature difference, even though we're talking a 3 million mile closer sun, right? Almost 4 million
Right.
miles closer. That's preposterous. That is absolutely absurd. And, one thing I did notice is that when you really cut off the sun and it goes, well, like during the eclipse, I'll never forget this. When we went down and saw the eclipse in 2017, boy, I'll tell you, as soon as the sun went total eclipse, the temperature dropped like 10 degrees instantly. I mean, you could feel it immediately. And, that's just something that you think about how that would act, on a ball versus a flat earth, or what might actually be, causing the blockage. And it just doesn't add up. It doesn't make any sense. So there's so many things.
It's a local thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you experience it like that, it really does, it strikes a chord, I think, to experience that. It just screams that it's a local phenomenon.
Absolutely. Very much local phenomenon, So anyway, so I guess where I want to take this today is I was going through some of my old videos, and actually it was one that was on the 24/7 channel. And it's funny because every time it goes up, this particular video, every single time this video plays, and it is this one right here. And now it was originally authored by Don't Sphere the Truth. Of course, I think it's probably on his channel somewhere, and I'll try and look for a link to to go directly to his channel, but I'm pretty sure that's who did it originally. And I want to make sure that the right person gets credit. I know David didn't do it, but David, I don't think is really trying to steal any credit away. Oh yeah, here it is. Oh, here it is. Wow, bad me. All right, so here it is. Here's the original. God, oh, video unavailable. Okay, so it's not there, but it was by Don't Sphere the Truth. And, he's absolutely been one of my favorite video makers for a long, long time. I reference his material constantly because he's one of the best, technical documentary makers, I think there are in the community. I mean, his work is just fabulous. So anyway,
Love the name too. I mean, gotta love the pun in the name. I love it.
Yeah, Don't Sphere the Truth. I know, it's great. And so awesome guy, awesome work. So anyway, I noticed that every time that this video plays on the 24/7 channel, I get a copyright claim, right? And it gets shut down because they say, well, you're transmitting copyrighted material. And it's like, whatever, I don't get a strike for it or anything. But for whatever reason, this particular video has footage in it that they do not want to see going out there. And boy, I'll tell you why. And the link for this is... I don't think it's in their links yet. I will put the link for this, of course, in the show notes. But this is an absolutely fabulous documentary. It's an hour and 23 minutes. And we're going to go through, quite a few sections of it today and, talk about these little parts of it and, see how this all comes together. Because I think you're going to find some really interesting things, that are not coincidental as we go through this. And
I'm assuming that's going to be on the Rockfin side, right?
Yes,
or
it
are
is.
We on Rockfin now?
Well, we're on Rockfin and YouTube right now. Now, today I have made the Rockfin side free. It is free to everyone. And the reason for that is because, like I said, YouTube doesn't like this video playing. They will shut it down. So here when we start this video, which is going to be very shortly, I'm going to send everybody over to Rockfin. We can all watch it over there and watch the show over there. And you do not have to have a subscription to be able to watch it. It's open and free. But, like I said before, if you can possibly join Rockfin, that would be great because that gets you access to the Sunday shows, and all the stuff that we would put up on there. But, again, that's, I keep stressing this to people. When we went to Rockfin, in order to make it known, fully known, that we still very much do appreciate our users and our subscribers that have been with us since day one and can't necessarily afford the $10 a month. That's cool. We got you covered. That's why we started the Wednesday show, which of course is occasionally on Thursday, but whatever. We did add the show.
That's pretty sweet that you have the ability to do that. There's not a lot of platforms that do that. I must say that is, that's very nice.
Yeah. Yeah. It is really cool. So anyway, we're just trying to take care of everybody. Of course, people are still going to complain one way or another, but, as far as I'm concerned, I've done the best I can do. And there will never be critical information that is omitted from either the pay side or the free side. The content may be different, mostly because of what YouTube lets us say and do and play. If we didn't have that issue with YouTube, that probably wouldn't be a problem with me, but we do have that issue and we all know that. So anyway.
Well, and if they still don't like it, we can just give them some cheese with their Wham burger.
Yeah, exactly. So
wasn't it Abraham Lincoln who said, you can please some of the people all the time, you can please all the people some of the time, but you can't please all the people all the time.
That's correct. Or please or fool.
Yeah.
Both.
I don't think they had ice cream back then, though. So did they? I don't know.
I have no idea. I love ice cream, though. Who doesn't? Well,
who doesn't? Yeah.
Yeah. So cool. So, all right. So I'm trying to think. I don't really think I have anything else to cover before we jump into that. So, mods, if you would be so kind as to start spamming the Rockfin link, which is in the show notes. It says to watch the entire free stream. Go there, spam that in there, and let's get everybody over to Rockfin. And we will close down the YouTube stream and, go from there. So, sounds good. So, again, like I said, everybody, you do not have to have a membership or pay anything to get on the Rockfin stream today. I've made it free. This is simply so we don't get hassled by YouTube, which we absolutely will. So let's close this down. Everybody, I'll see you in a few minutes over at Rockfin and catch you in a minute. Now, let me go ahead and shut down YouTube here. All right. And we're shutting down YouTube. We'll see you on Rockfin, guys. Bye-bye.
And we don't mean DDoS attack YouTube. We just mean my